my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a comic book review of Star Wars Crimson Reign, issue number 3, brought to you by Rated Comics. Let's get to it. Now we begin this issue with the Archivist. We get a backstory of the Archivist in this issue, and before she became the woman we know as the Archivist, she had a very different life. She said that working with the dark side corrupts one's physical form, but for her, it was something more simpler. In her old days, she was happy. She was a credentialed SAVA, a title, a scholar, a teacher at the University of the Barleth. And she had access to great minds, so collecting theories, collecting all these publications that were revolutionary, all these artifacts, because the subject she chose to devote her life to was the Force. But after Order 66, you can see a complete transformation. She went from living in the Star Wars penthouse in the galaxy far, far away to barely getting by. And what she's doing, she's selling junk. And these stormtroopers are like, they're shaking her down because they think she's selling like illegal contraband or something like that. And she studied the Force and she studied the Jedi. But Order 66 killed the Jedi. So studying the Force was how she was making her living. So I believe that's why they're shaking her down, because she used to study the Force of the Jedi. But she said she gravitated more towards the dark side for educational purposes, I suppose you could say. So they give it a good tossing. They shake her down. And she's pissed. Like, this is outrageous, man. I'm going to file a report with the Imperial Governor. I might not be what I was back then, but I still have friends out there, powerful friends. You can't treat me this way. So they said they found something. We're like, what do you know? What's all this junk? Looks like illegal contraband, and I don't know what it is, but they claim it's forbidden under the Order 66 Council. And she's like, it's nothing. It's just for sentimental reasons. I just kept it because it makes me happy. So they're going to report it. She's begging them not to. And then these stormtroopers get blasted off. And who do we know is blasting them off? That artifact falls down and cracks, to her surprise, and that's to her devastation. But speaking of devastation, stunning, it's Lady Qi'RA. That subtlety is not her name at all. So she introduces herself and she tells Sava that it's been a pleasure to meet you. It's extraordinary pleasure to meet you, and tells her, I know you work well. So Lady Qi'RA just has a way with words to get herself in and to fulfill her agenda. She's like, you're a fan of my work, but you just killed 3 Imperial soldiers. She's like, I have no fear of the Empire, but if you work for me, you'll have nothing to fear from them either. So she's like, work for you? I mean, doing what? Who are you? And Qi'RA's like, I'll answer those questions, but I'm hoping you might answer this one first. No matter how this conversation goes, it's just an honor to be in your presence. The Archivist, before she was an Archivist, Sava, she's like, okay, well, what are you? Like, what's it all about? And Qi'RA's like, okay, so let me ask you, why are you forbidden to study the Force? Why does no one talk about it, at least publicly? That's my question. Why has the Force disappeared from the galaxy? Riddle me this. And she's like, I spent a lot of time considering that in the past. What happened to the Jedi is what happened to me. It's not as complicated as you think. So we go into this monologue of how it all went down. The Jedi Order was strong, deeply seated into the galaxy's consciousness. They had a great temple in the heart of Coruscant, worked closely with the Republic and its chancellors for centuries. People made holodramas about them, wrote the stories, and the Jedis were celebrities, and rightly so. But I believe for the most part, people who thought about it all, the light side represented the way they want to act and the way they should be. The dark side was more closely connected to how they actually were. In a single generation, and indeed the concept of wielding the Force itself, it disappeared from the collective consciousness of the galaxy. Why? Why did it disappear? Is fear, the most potent weapon in the arsenal of the great galactic empire. Emperor Palpatine rose to power because he made people afraid. He made people fear the Jedis. He called them traitors. He said they used their mystical powers to subvert democracy and peace to cause wars. It worked, because as much as people love the Jedis, they also hated on them on some level. Why? Because it is hard to look at people who have become their best selves. It reminds you that you have not become your best selves. And that's something people just can't muster. There's a lot of facts and truth with that right there. The Jedi Order was an enemy of the Empire and needed to be purged, not just from reality, but from thought and from memory. If you want a galaxy of people to stop talking about something, which means their children will know nothing of that, you make it treasonous to be a Jedi, to help a Jedi, to use the Force, to study the Force, to even be made aware of the Force. Some will be willing to die for their beliefs in an effort to bring back the light to expose the truth. So you kill them first. But keep in mind, even though they limited the Jedis, Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader also use the Force too. So Lady Qi'RA's taking all this information in. I see, but there is a piece you are missing. You said that the Empire was responsible for the erase of the Jedi and the Force, but who is the Empire truly? It is the one-man Emperor Chief Palpatine. Well, and she's like, yeah, I suppose. Hardly Palpatine has another name, his true name. He is the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious, and she is stunned to hear about this. SAVA is stunned, and she doesn't even know why she didn't see this before. That's Lady Qi'RA'S motivation to bring her in to do Lady Qi'RA'S agenda. So this explains so much. How did she miss all this? I call myself an expert in the dark side, and I missed that a Sith Lord right under my nose? And Qi'RA'S like, look, it's okay. If it's any consolation, so did the Jedi. They were even closer to him. The Sith are supposed to haunt the shadows. You did not see the one in plain sight. And she's like, how does it mean? How was this taken from me? How did I miss this? Qi'RA'S like, come with me, SAVA, and then I would like to make you an offer. And Lady Qi'RA shows her all these artifacts from extending technology artifacts of the Sith, which just appeals to her appetite. So Lady Qi'RA is like, okay, look, this is my plan. I want to end the Sith stranglehold on this galaxy. I want to set everyone free. To succeed, I need to understand the dark side. It's the strengths and weaknesses I need to understand. I need an expert. I want it to be you. And she's like, look, I'm no longer that person. No, SAVA, you still are. Join me and you have access to all these artifacts and more. When we succeed, you can study anything you want. Nothing will be forbidden. I want to give you your life back. At first going back and forth, she's hesitant to do it. And she's like, well, SAVA, if you don't do this, we're all dead. Don't you want to live? And she's like, oh my gosh, you're making a compelling case over here. She's right, you know? So what's the task? What do you want me to do? She believed that Jedi survived Palpatine's purge, and the particular Jedi is Yoda. Why do you believe Yoda is still alive? Because the Empire never announced his death. They made a great show of all these lightsabers being burned at ceremony, but they never claimed he was dead. Only reason for that is because they might have afraid he might be coming back someday. With your particular expertise, gives you a good hope of finding where he might have gone. Find Yoda for me and I will ensure you could do anything you want, study anything you like forever. So of course she agreed. How could she not? But Qi'RA'S task was not simple. She asked me to find Yoda, but gave me no suggestions, no trail, no leads. What's one to do to find Yoda? She used research. First, she began knowing what was last known in hopes it would send her on a path toward what was unknown. The last acknowledged appearance of Yoda was the Battle of Kashyyyk. If I'm saying it right, comment below if I'm saying it correctly. But that was not the last place he was seen. She learned quickly that Qi'RA'S influence ran wide and deep. Every request she made, she was granted access to Imperial databases, Old Republic records, anything she could ever wanted. And in some of the reports surrounding the Dark Knight, when the Republic died, the Galactic Empire was born. And during her research, she concluded these 4 things. 1, Yoda did survive the Purge. 2, he was present on the Coruscant on the last night, but escaped Darth Sidious, fleeing to some other hiding place. 3, Yoda was one of the most recognizable people in the galaxy. He could not simply buy a ticket off-world without somebody noticing. And 4, therefore he had help. Someone powerful enough to slip through Palpatine's net, someone with an entire private starship at their disposal. So during further research, she discovered Yoda was aboard the Tantive number 3 when it landed on Naboo. She was certain about it. That all happened over 20 years ago. But someone who was on that ship during that time from the journey had to still be alive, so she kept going through all the databases. She scanned all the flight records until she went blind. But luckily, fortunately for her, she found someone. So she goes on to the jail Imperial detention facility and interrogates him. And his brother tells her, look, can you please tell Lady Qi'RA I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I'm helping you as a mutual friend request. Pass it along to her that I assist you with everything required. She's like, yes, I will. So she goes in and she asks Jeremy Colton some questions. So at first the conversation is just small talk, but she quickly gets into the point. There's a lot of exposition in this comic book, which is okay. It just keeps the story compelling and I'm having fun reading this along. So she tells him, I'm more interested in the time before you got here. You were a pilot for Organa family first, for Bail, and then for his daughter Leia, the Imperious, all that. And he's like, okay, good. So you can read a prisoner transcript. Good for you. I read a lot of data files, Jeremiah. What I also know is you flew a ship called the Tantive number 3 when it helped Jedi Master Yoda escape Palpatine's purge. I need to know where you took. He's like, oh no, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, I see. Well, this device is a thought dowser. It was created by ancient society known as the Ascendant. They try to replicate the powers of the dark side of the Force through technology, but it mostly failed. But this works. This works very well. And if you try to resist its mind control, it's going to become more painful and it's going to become more brutal. So tell me where you took Yoda and this stops. This pain stops. He resists. He doesn't know. But eventually he tells her it's the sluice sector, or the sluice sector. She's like, sluice sector, huh? Okay, I'm done, I'm out. So what is the sluice sector all about? The sluice sector was all but empty, a few settled worlds, but none seemed like a good candidate to hide a Jedi Master. But then again, research and an academic paperwork didn't give in her field, so as she said, she could not use the Force, but she could sense it. So even though she was paying so much attention how the Force touched all living things, she missed the actual living things on this planet. She was taken by one of the Dagobah's native beasts, and before it looks like he's about to strangle her, squeeze her, and devour her, he lets her go. Surprisingly so, gazing upon this cave, inviting her in by force. And what she saw in this place was for her alone. So even though she could sense the Force, she can never wield it. But what she encountered in that cave helped her understand a great many things about the Force, about herself. Then she goes from young Sava to, whoa, looking more like the Archivist she is today. I don't know if it's a transformation of what she was learning in there, or how long the time duration was in there, or just how the cave transformed her. At that moment, she became one of the few people who know one of the galaxy's most valuable secrets, Yoda's location. Yoda's location, that could give her life back, whether she gave it to Qi'RA or Palpatine. She could be rich, she could be powerful. I could be a scholar at the best university in the galaxy, and she could run it. And we see Yoda in the shadows, but Yoda had to know all that. He could have killed her, or let that planet kill her, or let that Dagobah beast kill her, but he chose to teach her. She studied the Force for her entire adult life, and she focused on the dark side because it spoke to her. She thought it was more realistic, it was more clearly, but the dark side was more reflective of who we are, our motivations, our decisions, the way we actually act, choices made from selfishness, from attachment, from fear. The light side shows us who we could be. And she's like, okay, this is interesting. So she tells Qi'RA that Yoda is dead, and Kira's like, are you certain? She's like, I am. I don't know if Qi'RA believes her, wants to call her bluff, but clearly it shows that she trusts her. So she's like, okay, we'll do it ourselves. And it's understandable why she wants a Jedi on her team to take down the Sith and Palpatine and Darth Vader. You just have to have a Jedi because you want to understand that it gives you an advantage as well. She made her decision, and for the first time in a very long time, she was happy. And that is where we end this issue. So to me, Star Wars has always been tied to real life politics. I'm just an average Star Wars fan, but in my opinion, Star Wars ties a lot with real life politics. And fear is a big way politicians have molded much of the United States and what goes on in the media today. So what did she learn from Yoda? We don't know, but it's a very interesting angle. It's a very interesting story on tying in to the Crimson Dawn and the Crimson Reign in this issue. So whatever Master Yoda taught her, he could have ended her on that planet, but clearly he saw something, she saw something. And how does this finish off towards the end? I'm very curious to see how this wraps it all up in the final issue. But for you guys that are Star Wars fans and know the angles on this, what do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. With that being said, Star Wars Crimson Reign issue number 3, what you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy and don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.